right, everyone, welcome. My name is Woody Roper. It's my pleasure to be back teaching Canvas at Oklahoma City Public Schools. Today's session is going to be covering Canvas for curriculum designers. This is a part one of a part two series. This series is going to cover some basic areas in Canvas. This is to get the user up to speed on certain features that you may already know about, but also a couple of features that are newer to Canvas and kind of show you how you can use them when you build courses or assist teachers if they're kind of pointing out, hey, what does that do? And so on. Let me go ahead and do a quick introduction as far as who I am as your trainer. That's me right there on the right-hand side. I'm a bride of about 23 years now to my left. I'm the senior trainer for learning services and instructure. Instructure is the company that develops Canvas, and we're all home-based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. I've been actively using Canvas as an educator since 2014, more so these days as an administrator. And my background, lucky for all of you, is adult career in technical education. You might wonder who's easier to teach, K-12 faculty or students. You might be surprised at my answer. And on a personal note, if you have any ties to the area, I grew up on the North Shore of Hawaii. I was actually an Army brat. So my dad decided to, instead of retire in his hometown in Alabama, he decided to retire in Hawaii. So that was a good choice. A fun fact about the North Shore is considered the country side of the island. If you ever went to see the area where Jurassic Park and Jurassic World and King Kong was filmed, I basically drove by that every day going to school. Also, that's where all the horses, cows, wild chickens and pigs live as well. All right, excellent. Other than that, this is a little bit about me. So an optimized experience in this training. You want to go ahead and use the Chrome browser. There's a lot of browsers that work with Canvas, like Firefox, Safari, Edge. If you're kind of wondering, is there a browser that doesn't work with Canvas? There is actually. Anything with the word Internet Explorer in the title. It is just not supported. Also, fun fact. What is also not supported is if you or your students are using mobile devices. A lot of mobile devices have their own little mini browser. Well, mini browsers on a mobile device are not supported as well. In fact, the only thing that's supported on mobile are our apps. So the student app, teacher app, and if parents are using the parent app as well. And if you want to go ahead and follow along today, go ahead and log in. Go ahead and log into Canvas. So while you're logging in, choosing a browser, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of share with you how I teach these sessions these days. First and foremost, I'm a face-to-face teacher. So this concept of teaching from Zoom has been a real adjustment for my entire team, but we, basically use the tools that we're given. So usually I show you something on the screen, like the example of a home page might be one. And if we do anything like where I need to build something, I'll probably demonstrate creating something step by step. So when it comes to watching someone do something in Zoom and trying to follow along, you get caught up in this trap of point-by-point clicks. You're looking at this screen, but maybe you're using Canvas in the background and you might miss something. I encourage you in this session, go ahead and let me show you something and let me show you how to create it step by step. Because along the way, I'm going to give you some dedicated time to do it on your own. That's right, there's going to be some activities. And during that activity time, you can go ahead and ask questions in the chat about the training up to that point. Me and Neil will try to address any questions or concerns that you have along the way. All right. Other than that, let's just go ahead and jump right in. So I want to go ahead and kind of start you at the beginning. If you ever get a question about, hey, where should I start out in Canvas? Or I've been using Canvas for a while, but I didn't officially started a specific space. I just jumped right in. Yeah, there's what I would consider a starting point in Canvas. And that starting point would be learning about the global navigation menu and some of the items that are in it and where you might use or not use certain functionalities. So the global navigation menu is, excuse me, what we see when we log into Canvas. I'm logged into my course right here, but there's the global navigation menu on the left-hand side. This area over here with your logoing, and as I scroll down, certain icons are going to appear based on the role that you're in. So I'm an administrator, and so on. So those are just a couple of things that you want to familiarize yourself with first. And the very first item that you should be clicking on as a new Canvas user, if you haven't already, is clicking in this account area right here. The account area is going to go ahead and pull out this little slider, and there's a couple of options in here, but one of the options in particular are the settings. So the settings, when you click on it, it's actually going to bring you into this space. This is going to show you your name, how it's spelled. And one thing to note is the display name. Now, some teachers usually ask about this. This is how you are addressed within a classroom. So if a teacher ever says, hey, I don't want to be referred to by my first name and my last name, I'd like to be known as, Mr. Roper, Mrs. Roper, whoever, you want to go ahead and have that teacher contact your local Canvas admin. They can go ahead and change it for them. Things that you could probably change on your own are things like pronouns, language, time zone, and you can do that all over here on the right-hand side of the page. The right-hand side of the page has an edit option to edit those settings, and it's important to note that if teachers or students, say for example, they go on vacation, they leave your time zone is what I'm getting at, and they take their laptop with them, and the idea is that they're going to turn in their work wherever they're vacationing. They're going to the East Coast to hang out in Florida. They're going to the West Coast to go to Disneyland. Obviously, a different time zone. Well, it's important that if you're bringing some type of laptop, and that's specifically like a desktop environment of Canvas, you have to come into this space and change your time zone to wherever you're currently standing. And the reason why is that if you're a student in a course, well, you usually have due dates. Well, the due dates don't automatically update just because you cross time zone lines with your laptop. You have to change them temporarily here. So they all basically make sense and you turn things still in on time. So that's one thing to just note, let teachers know about that, or something just to know yourself if you're traveling, you're kind of wondering if that might be causing an issue with anyone you're assisting. But other than that, time zone, language, and so on. When it comes to language as well, we get a lot of questions about that. Language, does that automatically translate anything I type into Canvas? What actually changes when you change the language? Well, it changes menu option items. Anything that we read here, that would be changed to whatever language that is. But when it comes to, say, for example, making an announcement in a course, that teacher will still need to type in that language. They don't want to type in English and expect it to just automatically translate in the language of their choice. I also say that when it comes to language, this is a personal setting. All of this area is your personal settings. That means if a student is saying that their parents, when they log in through the parent app or they're logging in through the desktop, and they would prefer to read this in another language, they will need to take this journey on their own, clicking on their account, their settings, and then changing their language here. And again, you're just hitting that edit setting option on the right-hand side, adjusting what is needed. And when you're done, update settings. If you haven't done this, by the way, I would recommend adding your photograph. Your photograph should be about right here. And the reason why is because Canvas is a personalized experience. Whenever a teacher adds an announcement, a discussion, when they give any type of grading feedback, or when they send an inbox message, this little bubble should show up with your photograph. If you do want to update that with a photograph, all you're doing is clicking right here. You're uploading a new photograph or clicking in this space, or taking a photo with your webcam. You can go ahead and take care of that. Again, the first image in Canvas should be your own. And then finally, again, kind of like a little bit of a starting point within Canvas, once you kind of square this away, you want to go ahead and check your notification settings, because your work email should be located about right here under something that says ways to contact. Sometimes we get a little confusion about that. Does that mean that's a way for students to contact us? Is that the way the school contacts us? No, that's a way for Canvas to contact you, because a lot of things happen within a Canvas course. Well, we need some type of way to notify you when those events happen. Like when a student does something in the course, like responding into a discussion you're subscribed to. They send you an inbox message. So if a teacher is saying like, "Hey, I just went ahead and turn all my turn all my notifications off," or they went ahead and went into their work email and they went ahead and spammed everything that was coming in from Canvas. Well, they shouldn't be doing that. They should just go ahead and adjust their notification settings to the proper frequency so they don't just get all of these notification emails every single day as soon as it happens. The way that you can actually adjust your notification settings is just pointing them to this direction right over here, notifications, and it's going to list all of the course activities, or what I like to call course events that happen that produce some type of email event. For example, if an announcement's made in the course, well, that right there shows the frequency. It notifies the students immediately that an announcement has been made through notification email, that ways to contact email. And if you've never been here before, you may have not noticed that a lot of these have already been turned on for you by default. Same thing with students. So if anyone ever needs to change the frequency of how often they receive a notification email from Canvas, it's as easy as just coming right over here and just, you know what, I'm always getting that announcement notification. I don't want that, or I'm not getting my invitations that I've been invited to teach a course or work in a course. Yeah, you can just go ahead and click right there. It's going to give you the 4 different types of notifications: immediately, daily, weekly, or you can just turn it off altogether. One question that we normally get asked about this is what happens if a student comes in here and they turn off their announcement notification? Do they still get announcements? Absolutely. And if they check their announcements every single day in the course, they're going to be golden, but they're not going to get that tap on the shoulder from us, letting them know that there's been an announcement in your course created that class is canceled on Friday due to building maintenance, things like that. So just be aware that these are the settings for all of your notifications, however you're using Canvas, or so you can let teachers and students know if they're asking. Well, anyways, it's nice to be able to practice these concepts. So while you're here, let's go ahead and throw you into an activity. Go to your account settings, and if you haven't done so already, go ahead and add a profile picture. Profile picture, just go ahead and take a snapshot or use the photo that you've been saving for this very occasion and review your settings. And I'd like you to go to the notifications. If anything, just to see the notifications have already been set for you. If you want to go ahead and change or adjust any of those, go ahead and do so. I'm going to give you about a minute and 30 seconds. If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know in the chat. All right, everybody. It looks like there was one question that came up in the chat about discussions. We'll go ahead and talk about that once we get into the course, Penelope. That's a good question. What's the difference between discussions and a discussion post? In fact, I can just go ahead and just answer that right now. Discussion is what a discussion post would go into. So if I wanted to have a discussion on the sinking of the Maine and ask students to make a discussion post about it, they would just go into that discussion, make a post. That would be a discussion post. Hopefully that was helpful. All right, everybody. Let's go ahead and take a look at probably one of my favorite areas of Canvas. Usually this is a very important area when you're a teacher and a student. To a curriculum designer, this might be an area that's holding a couple of courses that you're working on for teachers, but this is going to be an area nonetheless that's going to display all course cards and of any enrollment that you're part of. So if you're enrolled into a course that you're building, you've got teacher rights within it, you're going to see your course there. A couple things you want to know about the dashboard as a curriculum designer. I'm just going to go ahead and just open Minds up right here. One is layout. Layout's always going to have something between published and unpublished courses. Publish means that students can access it. Now, in our line, when it comes to curricular designers, you may not have students that you need to allow participation in the course. A lot of times we're building content, but just note that when it comes to publishing or unpublishing, that's what it really means. Unpublished courses just mean that students might be enrolled, but they cannot participate at this time time, teachers, curriculum designers, you can access anything when it comes to published or unpublished content. It just really kind of depends on the role. If you do get questions about, hey, well, what is this over here on the right-hand side? I'm not seeing anything, or why do you see things? Well, teachers will eventually see things in their to-do list, things that they need to grade. I'm currently looking at this from a teacher's perspective. If you're doing any testing, like using the test student to turn something in, you might see a to-do list item over here for an assignment you've created. So I've got, for example, 48 items that I have to grade for this one assignment. I've got 5 assignments that I need to grade here. We get questions about the time limit. Is there some type of time period here? That's about 4 weeks. So when it comes to students, it's nice to be able to point them to their to-do list, because while they don't have to grade anything, they certainly need to turn in items. So that's going to be a big list of items with due dates that they have not turned in at this time. I usually let students know in the classroom that, hey, you go ahead and knock out a couple things in that to-do list over the weekend or over the break, so we can go ahead and get caught up. Another thing that shows up over here is a coming up list, anything that's happening within the next 7 days. That's exactly what this is right here. This narrows, the coming up in the to-do list narrows down to just course materials when you visit a course. Right now on the dashboard, I might have more than one course that I'm part of. So this is going to be a combination of all the items from all of those courses. But once I go into a course, the to-do list, the coming up, it just narrows down to just the content within. There are a couple of different views here. Usually when it comes to changing the view of this space from what we call the course card view, you can actually come over here, those 3 little dots, and it gives you options like switching it from card view to maybe recent activity. Now, there's not a lot going on with recent activity. Usually it's just kind of a running scroll of everything that's been happening. That's nice to be able to have every once in a while, but I usually keep it within the card view because I can do a couple of things with these cards. You can always let, for example, teachers know that if they want to change the name of their course, there is the ability to come over here and just click on those 3 little dots. Now, changing the name of the course here, it doesn't do anything in front of a student's eyes, meaning that only a teacher will see the changes. We call it a nickname, and it doesn't affect anything when it comes to your student information system. We usually have it as some type of organizational process for a teacher. Like if they're teaching 3 periods of geometry, they all might be titled, the course all might be titled Geometry, 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 with maybe a different character at the end of the title. Well, you can actually come over here and nickname your course, call it period 1, period 2, period 3. That does not affect the student view. The student still sees it as geometry, and so on. So you can go ahead and nickname your course. You can actually move these course cards around as well. So if you've got a couple of courses that you're working on, you can go ahead and kind of move them into the proper order as needed. One little tip for those of you because as designers, we've probably added things like course cards, these images that we see right here. We can actually change these as far as the overlay of the color. How many of you kind of are looking at this with this color overlay turned on? That means you've added a pretty cool color, but, well, I'm sorry, a pretty cool course card image, but it's probably covered with some type of pink, blue, green haze. Well, if you want to go ahead and change that, meaning remove the color overlay, if you're in the dashboard, you can direct that teacher to do this. Go ahead and come over here, click on those 3 little dots and remove the color overlay. And now any image that you had added as a course card, well, it's going to go ahead and come through full. So that's basically the dashboard. I like using the dashboard. It's the very first impression that students and teachers and even parents have when they log into Canvas and see Canvas for the very first time before they start clicking on a course. Another item here that gets looked at usually before you even click on the course is the Canvas calendar. Now, it's important to understand calendar functionality because the calendar is a space, for example, that if you're a curriculum designer, you might be part of a curriculum designer account group. Well, that would mean that the account group that you're collaborating with has your own calendar that you can go ahead and post events, to-do list reminders to yourselves in the group. But there is some functionality that if a teacher asks, or you just want to be aware of it when you're designing assignments on how certain things lay within the calendar. I'm going to go ahead and just open up my calendar right over here, and you can access the Canvas calendar just by kind of coming over here, clicking on calendar in the global navigation menu. Within this space, I usually have it in a monthly view. If you want to switch this out to a weekly view, kind of like the concept in Google Calendar, at least what I do, you can just come right over here to the top and switch that view. You can also switch it to a listed agenda as well. As far as what gets displayed within our calendars, well, it's going to have things like our personal calendar displaying items. In fact, all of us should have our names here at the top. We all have a personal calendar that only we have a view into. And underneath it will be any course that you're part of, whether you're a student, teacher, designer, you will see these courses displayed underneath. Now, if you're asking, like, why are these grayed out? Does that mean they're unpublished? Does that mean that they're not working anymore? You don't have access to them? No, I just set them in the calendar to inactive. And when I want to look at certain items, I just toggle it on to be active within the calendar. The reason why is that there might be some items within a course that, just really kind of fills up this entire space. And if I've got, more than one calendar turned on, it's going to then display all of the content pieces from all of the courses that I have set here. And it usually just takes a few seconds to kind of load into this space. But usually what's going to display here are things like events, assignments, appointments, and so on. If you notice right over here at the very bottom, there is a calendar feed. So if you need to have, for example, a curriculum design account group calendar, and you want to go ahead and have that feed go into an external space, like, for example, Google Calendar, that is the item that you need right here. You need to go ahead and just select this. This is the URL that you technically feed to those external calendar spaces. Then from this point on, anything that happens within Canvas, like whether I toggle on or off one of these courses, if I move an assignment or a task from one day to the next, it will automatically adjust within that external space. But it's important to note the relationship between a Canvas calendar and those external calendars. It's a one-way relationship. That means that anytime I change anything here within the Canvas calendar, it's going to update in Google Calendar, but I can't do anything in Google Calendar and expect it to come back into this space. And there we go. Finally started loading up a couple of things. A little slow this morning. I apologize about that. What we're seeing is a couple of events, assignments, items showing up. And right now I have different color codes, so they kind of stand out. But you can kind of see the reason now why I might toggle off one course as opposed to the other, because this is getting pretty busy right here. If I just want to focus on, say, my History 101, I might toggle the other courses off just to focus on it. You can also let teachers know if they're kind of wondering about changing dates of things. Yeah, I don't usually assign things on Sunday. So if I want to go ahead and assign it to a different day, I can drag items within the calendar and drop it on a different day. Like, for example, right here. And teachers don't need to make announcements in the classroom after they do that. Like, hey, I just changed the due date of my quiz 2 on plate tectonics. That automatically just sent a notification to all students in that course, letting them know that the due date for these two items have been changed. So that's one thing that you can absolutely do in the calendar to kind of save a little bit of time as a teacher, is to kind of move some things around. If you do want to create anything in the calendar, like, for example, if you want to create things like an event or a to-do list reminder, the first thing to note is make sure that you have the calendar that you want to create that event or to-do list reminder turned on, meaning you've got a little toggle on one of these. It's what we call setting it to active. Once you've toggled those calendars on, now you can create events and pieces for them in this space. For example, if I come over here to the 14th, just click on the 14th, it's going to go ahead and give me this window. I now have the ability to add an event, assignment, go to my to-do list, something like where I need to build something between now and this particular date, or I can schedule appointments for students that I might have in a course. Events are something important because this is a reoccurring concept. In Google Calendar, for example, we can create an event and we can say that this happens now on this day for the next 20 weeks. So we always have that. And whenever we want to remove it, Google says, do you want to just remove this event or the whole thing? Well, that's very similar to what an event is here. If you need to do anything like a reoccurring item that happens in Canvas, a reminder to yourself, this is exactly what you would use. You would use a event. So if I want to go ahead and just do something like a course build reminder. So course build, course build meeting, right? Well, I'm going to go ahead and schedule the first one here on the 14th. I would come down over here, whether it's meeting in person, meeting in a Zoom room, wherever you're going to meet for that meeting, I can go ahead and add that location. Let's just say we're meeting in Zoom, right? And then, of course, the calendar. The calendar is important because I've turned a couple of these to be on. If I just go ahead and make this event for myself, that's completely fine. I'm looking at my personal calendar. But if I have a group that I'm part of, like a curriculum designer group, I'll choose it from this list. And then that's where I would go ahead and post the event. I'm going to go ahead and just use right over here this Geo 101 course as an example of what happens when you create an event. If I want this to reoccur for the next 5 weeks, or this reminder for the next 5 weeks, I just come down over here to more options. Yeah, come over here and give a little bit of context of what this meeting is about. Maybe put the Zoom link here, or maybe this is a reminder for a meeting. So a reminder for a meeting, and then just come over here to where it says duplicate at the very bottom. So if I want this event or this reminder to happen every week, so I'm going to have it once a week. It's going to be starting on the 14th, and I want it to reoccur for the next 5 weeks. All right. One really cool option is that we can put a number next to each event. So it does a little bit of a countdown of how many I have left. So if I come over here to my title, I can just go ahead and do something like this: course build meeting, colon, and that means it'll put a number right there at the end. I don't have to put the colon there. It's just so just the number doesn't just show up right at the end of that G. I like being able to see that countdown, knowing what week I'm in. Okay, it looks like I've got about 4 more meetings left, and so on. Once I'm done, if I want to go ahead and just create this event now, I can come over here, create the event, right-hand side, lower right-hand side, and this will redirect me back into the Canvas calendar, and I can take a look at the events that I just created. Yep, there we go. There's my course building meet 1. That's the reason why I put that little colon in the end, so it just looks a little bit neater. 2, 3, and so on. And if I feel like, you know what, I'm not going to be able to make this 21 meeting, let's go ahead and move it. I would go ahead and just move it right about here. And if that was part of a group event, that would notify all group members that the date of that particular event has been updated. All right, everybody. Well, let's go ahead and get you trying out this functionality. It's fun to be able to just go in here and set a reminder yourself. Some may have realized that if you go in the calendar, you can create things, but you may not have gone down the rabbit hole and tried to create a duplicate event within this space. So I'm going to go ahead and let you practice that. Click on any day in the calendar and use the event tab. Add some event details. Make sure that you select something that's active, right? You select your personal calendar or maybe a course that you're involved in. Any course that is over there on the right-hand side listed under your name. Once you've put some details there, click on more options. It's going to take you into a space where you can give more context to this reoccurring event. But more importantly, at the very bottom, the duplication feature, which allows you to set this event to reoccur for the next, this day for the next 16 weeks. I'm going to give you let's do about a minute and 30 seconds. If there's any questions, go ahead and let me know in the chat. All right, everyone. All right, well, we're still in the global navigation menu, so let's go ahead and talk about the next thing that we see within this space. So right over here, after the calendar, we see our inbox. So the inbox, you may or may not use this tool. One thing to note about the inbox, it has nothing to do with your work email. What basically you would use this tool for is communication with enrollment. If you are a teacher would use this to communicate with students. Students would communicate back with their teacher. One thing to note in the K-12 environment, students cannot communicate among themselves. Whenever the student tries to send a message or open up the inbox and send a message, the only people that they could send a message to is their teacher or some type of observer like a parent and so on. So inbox messaging, I'm going to go ahead and just come over here and just open up the inbox. You'll see displayed over here on the left-hand side any type of messages you've received. If you want to send a message out, and this is important because if you're part of a curriculum designer group, you can communicate with group members using this medium. You can go ahead and select the group that you're in, go ahead and type in the email or just type in the name of that group member. If you feel like, for example, like you want to go ahead and just like send it to everyone within the group, make sure that you select the group from this particular space and then just come over here to the address book and see if that's an option available. One of the inbox features when it comes to sending or what we call composing a message is attaching files, and we can do video messaging as well. And I like using video messaging only because I hate typing. This is also a feature that a lot of teachers use when it comes to giving any type of feedback on a particular assignment in SpeedGrader. This is just another area to go ahead and kind of give that personalized experience when you're trying to communicate with the student. Another item that's in our global navigation menu that you want to maybe reference whenever you need some type of help is actually right over there at the very bottom. The very bottom, we have resources, guides, help. When you click on it, we have Ask the Canvas Community as a featured option here at the top. This is just where you can go ahead and ask questions like, how do I build a multiple choice quiz with audio responses, things like that. Underneath it, you have things like Tier 1 technical support, which is the highest level of support a client who uses Canvas can achieve. That means when you call this number, you're going to go ahead and contact someone at our main office here in Salt Lake City and just ask them any question, or how do I do this, or I'm having trouble doing this, or a student is having trouble, or a teacher is having trouble doing this. Go ahead and call that number. We do not outsource our support. If you do talk to anyone with a British accent, you're calling at about 3 in the morning and it's just switching over to our London offices. If you want to chat with somebody, please do. They're most likely the same individuals that are manning those phones. And if you just want to go ahead and send an email, report a Canvas problem. That's where it's going to give you an area like a subject, a description. How is this affecting you? Usually, if it's like I see a misspelling on my page, how I fix it, that's probably not a critical emergency. So just basically triage as needed. But yeah, those are some of the options that you have available, that teachers have available in this space. One thing to let teachers know, do not give this number to students. Students, when they click on the help menu, they don't see the number because it goes by role. Who is the person clicking on me? Show them this. But without fail, students give us a call, like a third grader asking about, I just took a quiz and so on. So that's basically something that you want to let teachers know, that when it comes to asking for help, let them be that first line of defense, that they're going to go ahead and call that number, and we're going to assist them with whatever student issue that they might have. But please do not give this number to students, or let teachers know about that. Yeah, we do the best we can, and we can help. We can help you with the majority of the issues and how-to questions that you might have as well. Also, there is the training services portal for asynchronous training. Right now, you're attending a live training, but if you have webinar subscription, you can go ahead and attend a live webinar. You can go in, you can actually take a training that you can maybe stop halfway through, finish tomorrow. Yeah, there's a lot of content in there. I encourage you to go ahead and check that out when you can. Awesome. Really good feedback there from the chat. I love it. All right, so that's basically our help option. One thing I wanted to go ahead and point out here, I wanted to kind of leave it a little separate. I did skip over it, but I did that for a reason, because as curriculum designers, we may need to collaborate on course building. So the Commons is an area that only designers, teachers, and administrators see. Students do not see the Commons area. If you've ever kind of been curious about what the Commons is or what you would use it for, when you click on it, if you've never been there before, it usually gives you a little bit of a prompt, like, authorize Canvas to access the space. Let me go ahead and become a teacher within this course and see if I can access your Commons. Yep, that's that message. It's going to go ahead and ask you. And if it doesn't display yours, I can just go ahead and kind of show mine's while mine's loads. Let me go ahead and just load up mine. This is my Japanese history course. So while this is loading, what would you use the Commons for? The Commons is an area that if you build anything within Canvas, you could put a copy of it into the Commons and allow other members of your group, other members of your organization to grab a copy of it and put it into their course. And this is what the Commons looks like for me. I have what's called the public view of the Commons, and you can see there's like over 192,000 items here on first glance. Now, that may be a little overwhelming. So if you want to have, for example, a special group for curriculum designers, your Canvas administrators can actually come into this space where it has the admin option right here and go over to the group area. The group area is where you can go ahead and create a group, call it curriculum designers, and then you can start adding members. And when you start sharing things to the Commons, like, hey, I just went ahead and built this quiz for third grade elementary, you can put it into the Commons. Well, teachers who are in third grade, they can pull that down into their third grade course, or another curriculum designer can go ahead and grab a copy of it because maybe they're working on building content in the course that they've been tasked to build. So groups are a nice way to collaborate, to where you can collect content. You can put content here for specific areas of your organization. Just go ahead and kind of hand out membership. If I wanted to go ahead and just do something for curriculum designers, I'm just going to go ahead and do my CD group right here. And again, an admin most likely will need to, create it. Come right over there under name, and there's my CD group. When I want to add members, let me just go ahead and add one person. I like just adding one person to the group, and it's like, you know what? You're now the new manager of this group. Add people as you need, right? And that means that you would go ahead and add members of your team. And now, whenever you share something to the Commons, you don't have to share it to the public. You don't have to share it with Oklahoma Public City Schools. You can just share it to the CD group. And that means all of your resources, materials, homepage templates, quizzes, all of that can be put into this space. And there could be different groups for different grade levels, different types of courses that are being built, different subjects. Yeah, sky's the limit when it comes to this collaborative space. We had questions right there. Do we get a notification when things are used or accessed in the group? Carrie, you don't actually. The only time you get a notification is, for example, if something's been updated. Usually when you share something into the Commons and you notice, oops, forgot something in that share, you reshare it again with the correction, basically version 2, a notification gets sent out. All right, and that means that now you can come in and update those pieces. But it's nice to be able to, put like a shell here, put some type of course. I mean, if you're kind of wondering what you can share here as a curriculum designer, if you look at the filter right over here, you'll see what you can share. You can share an entire Canvas course, the modules by themselves, or individual pieces like an assignment, a quiz, or discussion. You can upload things like videos, audio tracks, and images. I like putting images there. For example, different homepage banner templates, depending on a particular school, you might have different theming, coloring, mascots. I can go ahead and put in a bunch of different banners, and then teachers or curriculum designers can pull those resources into their course. Sometimes we get questions about, well, if I put something here and you pull it into your course, does that mean you can change it? No, you're putting literally a copy of it here. And when anyone accesses it, like for example, I went ahead and built what's called dynamic homepage template modules. And anyone who wants this, they want, for example, a homepage template that's more of a bullet style. If they want a homepage template that's got bullets and emojis, yeah, that's what looks like. Yeah, I have 5 pages here, all within one module. You can take this by just importing and downloading it into your course. So this is a pretty amazing resource. If I'm a designer and I just build this one piece, I put it out there and say, hey, just go ahead and check this out. If you want to use these resources in your course, you can go ahead and import it in. Just taking a look there at another question, which would be easier, creating a course with my curriculum design team as teachers and designers, or use the Commons? Well, it depends. You can go ahead and have a course where you're building it with your team and you can collaborate as long as everyone knows what they're doing. You're not deleting one thing that someone else is building. Also, it's a great way to where if I need resources from a course that I'm working with you on, Peter, I can take a copy of that piece or just import that piece into a course that I'm working on. I would go ahead and if I have unique pieces, or if I'm working on a course and it's done, I would probably put that course in the Commons for your group, basically as an archive that anyone who needs a copy of it, they can go ahead and access it. Or if there are unique pieces of it, like a module structure or a really couple of good quiz templates, I would put them into the Commons as well. You can make a choice when you share to the Commons where you just share to group members or you just share it with Oklahoma Public City Schools. Now anyone can go in and access those pieces and bring it into their course. So it's kind of like, when you're playing with this tool, where would you want to put resources? It kind of shows up full view, and you can go ahead and say, you know what, I'll probably use the Commons to, put a couple of template pieces. But when it comes to real collaboration every day where we're working on a course, we might just stay in the course together and we'll share as needed. All right, everybody. Well, anyways, the Commons. And again, if you have any questions about the Commons, you can always go to the help menu, but it's pretty intuitive as far as putting content in the Commons or pulling something out. You're just coming over here, import/download, and you're choosing whatever course you want that piece to go into, like maybe an 8th grade mathematics course that you're working on. Think about like all the little pieces that you could build a course with. If you want to go ahead and kind of shop around, it's like, okay, this course needs this banner. This course needs these assignments, this module structure, because elementary module structure and delivery might be different than high school module structure and delivery. Well, I get a couple of choices. If I choose the module as opposed to downloading an entire course and removing the pieces I don't need. So it's basically like you're building a machine. You're just grabbing the pieces that you need for it. And then you just choose whatever course it needs to go to. You can always choose more than one course if you're working on 2 courses. And once you've chosen something, you just import into course. And that's the option here at the bottom. Now, you might wonder like, well, what's the difference between import and download? Well, download just downloads the file. It takes whatever this is. It downloads a hard copy file, puts it on your hard drive, and you could technically import that export whenever you can. But this does all the work for you. Import into course automatically puts this module into my course, and I'll be able to use these pages as my new homepage design or work on them a little bit more and kind of customize them based on my course needs. All right. Well, anyways, that's a pretty amazing tool. And if you have any other questions about that, During our activities or Q&A sessions, you can go ahead and ask about it. But now I think we're pretty much done with our global navigation menu, a really nice start or refresher of the tools that we use every day or tools that we want to be aware of in this space. All right, so let's go ahead and now talk about course navigation. We're going to actually transition now into a Canvas course. So if you have a practice course, what we normally refer to as a sandbox, I would recommend going there, but any Canvas course will do. Just to take a look at some course navigation items that you want to be aware of. We will be building content today. But it's important to kind of get some of the basics of how Canvas courses are structured. So I'm going to go ahead and use let's take a look over here. I think I have this course all set up. So I went ahead and took a copy of your 512 template, and I'm going to be using it for my course example, my course demo today. And your 512 template comes with a home page set up like this with a banner where you can basically put your name, your classroom name, and of course, space down below to where you can do things like this, like an introduction to the course, links, course intro and objectives, and probably my favorite, the buttons down below. I would say as curriculum designers, these templates help us out a lot, so we don't have to build things from scratch. A template provides structure. So a teacher doesn't have to go in and build a home page from the ground up. They can just come in here, hit edit, and change the name or insert a link to their syllabus and so on. But when it comes to course navigation, some of the very first things that you're going to run into when you open up your first Canvas course, it's going to be it's going to be that home page, or what I like to call the home screen, because there's a couple of different page options you can kind of choose from. You can go ahead and go with your traditional front page here that can have a banner, course description, and helpful links that take the student other places. One thing to note is that this is about the length of what we recommend a home page to be. It's not long. It's not a massive scroll of content. It's exactly what I need. And if the student wants to know a little bit more about me, they click on a button that takes me to that location. So think of this as kind of like a launch pad. You never want to have your courses looking a little bit like this. And I'm going to go ahead and just show you an example of a course that maybe you wouldn't want to go ahead and model off of. And if anyone likes mathematics, I'm going to pick on a mathematics course real quick. So at first glance of this course, it looks fine. You know, this homepage has got a banner, a welcome message to students, and some contact information for the teacher. And we normally recommend that. Now, whether the teacher wants to put their own personal information on here, that's their prerogative. But as we kind of scroll down, there might be some issues that happen because we see our materials we need for the course, a little bit about Canvas and the grading policy in this classroom. Oh, don't forget about that philosophy about how you teach, a little bit about the makeup work, and now homework, what homework we're actually going to be offering in this class, different LTI tools that we have. Inclement weather, Oklahoma, you don't ever have anything like that, right? So we have that right there in classroom behavior. And we finally get started with the course overview with units 1, 2, 3. Does anyone in the curriculum design team know why this might be a problem? Or anyone's eyes get crossed, it's a little bit of information overload, but you'd be surprised how many courses we see that have a homepage like this because maybe someone who just, just copied and pasted the information from a syllabus here, and it's now a massive scroll. And what happens is that if a student needs to use a mobile device, well, everything will compact in this space. Everything will need to fit in that small screen. And while we think this is a major scroll here using the desktop environment, it's going to be 10 times the scroll if I'm looking at it through, say, an iPhone. So we recommend that home pages be short and sweet. If you need the student to go to a certain area, well, you just build a space for that area. Kind of like over here in this Japanese history course. If I want a student to learn about the class policies, well, I don't just post it here. I just go ahead and hit class policy. whether it's a button or a link that says click here for class policies, and they can go ahead and digest that piece here. If I have something about inclement weather, I'll have a link on the homepage to learn more about inclement weather, and they can go ahead and select it. I'm just taking a look over here at Christine. All of our Chromebook screens are much smaller and use a lower resolution than our teacher laptops. Always good to keep this in mind when designing. Yes, absolutely. Keep it short and sweet, but still, it's nice to be able to insert those features, a nice little banner up at the top, small description, a welcome message to students, and again, a launch pad, taking the student to the areas that if they want to know about the late policy, they'll click on it and read a little bit about it. The homepage also has a couple of other features as well. The homepage will always have over here on the right-hand side, the student view. So when it comes to designing things within Canvas, we consider the student view to be a critical tool because as you build an assignment, you'll learn more about assignment builds in our part 2 of training session. We want to have the experience of what the student submits. So if we build an assignment, we submit using the student view, we can ask ourselves, are the instructions adequate for the grade level this is about to go into? Do I need to have video instructions? Do I need to use Studio to screen capture what I'm doing in student view and showing the step-by-step clicks? You can go ahead and use that. Student view is also a great way to troubleshoot issues. If a student is saying they're having a problem in a course, they don't see this, never go into a course or never or let the teacher know, don't just go in the course and go to where that student's saying the problem is. Use the student view and see if you can recreate the issue. And if in student view you can't see a module, I guarantee the student who's reporting it can't see the module either. Remember, there is a difference between published and unpublished content. Unpublished, you and teachers absolutely can see everything, where students, they can only see things that you have published. Beneath a student view, you can go ahead and take a look at the course statuses. Now, course status is usually a manual process. And sometimes to teachers, that's a misunderstood concept. They think that just because class starts, hypothetically, say class starts tomorrow, their class comes online. All right. No, publishing only is something to where when you're ready for students to participate, go ahead and publish your course. And also we get questions about, well, if you publish a course, does that mean it publishes everything in it? No, you're just opening the door, letting students in, and you can keep things that you're working on, or things that students are not ready to see yet. Keep those unpublished for now. Other things that are available over here underneath the course status, things like new analytics. It's our new analytic tool to look at student data. And remember, as I said, the to-do list and the coming up list, well, it narrows to the course. When you're visiting the course, this coming up list, instead of looking at everything that I teach in other courses, it only looks at this specific course content. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of show you over here the course navigation menu, but I want you to see it through the eyes of a student because that's a lot of content. Course navigation menu is on the left-hand side, starts with home at the top, ends with settings all the way at the very bottom. Sometimes there may be a need, depending on the particular grade level, of hiding some of these tabs, meaning that it's a tab that you're just not planning on letting students see. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like right now. I'm going to go ahead and just use the student view over here on the top right-hand corner. And it always wants to start out with that tour. I'm just going to say not now. But that's currently what a student sees in this classroom. And that might be a lot of information depending on the grade level. So you can change, meaning minimize what a student sees within this space. I do have a couple of recommendations of what you would change in that space. And we're going to actually do that when we talk about our course settings. But just note that the items can be rearranged. You can hide tabs. For example, I probably would hide the assignments tab if you want to go ahead and go with a more of a minimalist look. If a student does get an assignment, most likely you're going to give it to the student through the modules instead. But other than that, that's our student view in this space. One thing to note over here, the to-do list. Yeah, the to-do list of all items that are coming up due that this test student has just not submitted to yet. We're going to get more familiar with the test student when we build content in the next training because we want to go ahead and kind of capture that experience. I'm going to go ahead and leave the student view down here below. And if you're kind of wondering what's the difference between leaving and reset, well, you can use the student view to turn in assignments, take quizzes, post within discussions, but they stay in the course. If you want to go ahead and kind of wipe the slate clean, reset the test student, and now it removes everything that you kind of did yourself within the course that you're working in. All right. Before we leave and go into another area of this course, I just want you to go ahead and play with the student view for a quick second in any course that you're working on. Uh, let's go ahead and try that. I'd like you to go ahead and on the home page, locate that student view, top right-hand corner, and navigate as a student. See what you can see, what you can't see. That asks a lot of questions like, oh, I can't see the modules because I don't have any modules published or created, or I don't see announcements because I don't have any announcements created in the course yet. But that will go ahead and kind of bring those mental cues into focus of like what students see, what they don't see under particular situations. I'm going to give you about a minute to just kind of peruse your course as a test student. If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know in the chat. All right, so you just want to go ahead and leave that student view. Let's go ahead and talk about, for those of you who are building secondary courses, you might want to be using the syllabus. We give you a dedicated area in Canvas to display a teacher's syllabus within a Canvas course. There's a couple of different preview options that are available right now. We've kind of upgraded them. But if your teachers do have a syllabus or you have a syllabus template that everyone needs to use, why not use that space? I'm going to go ahead and just come back over here. You can locate the syllabus as one of the menu options. And again, these menu options can be adjusted. The order, I can move that syllabus up to the top if I need to. We'll take a look at that here in a second. But when I click on syllabus, yeah, I have a little reminder here, reminding maybe the teacher to insert your syllabus right here, or maybe you need to insert the template in this space. The syllabus would be displayed here, and we're going to talk about that when we do a little bit of building. But it also, the syllabus space also has areas, for example, the course summary, all gradable content listed down below. It does have a small calendar over here on the right-hand side. I like the syllabus because it takes up that space that I normally would want to have on the home page. But what I'll do is I'll redirect the student, if that's the case. If I have a syllabus in the course, I'll redirect them to this area, so it's a single focus item. A lot of times also the syllabus is kind of like a model of how grading will happen in a course. If you've seen syllabus that says, hey, I've got quizzes, assignments, and discussions. Quizzes are worth, 40% of the total. The final exams were 20. Yeah, you can go ahead and put the syllabus here. And then in the assignments index, model your assignment groups based on the syllabus structure. So just a couple of things, but again, a dedicated area just for a syllabus or a syllabus template. Another area that you want to be aware of within a course is the people area. The people area is always going to contain that roster of students. It's also where you're going to see yourself if you're a designer of the course. If you've been enrolled as a designer, you're going to see yourself in that space. Now, a couple things to note about the people area of a course when you're in there with students, or you have a couple of test students added into this particular space. Students in this space have things like latest activity and total activity. So you'll be able to see who among the designers have been in the course last. Just take a look at their role. Their role might be designer, they might be the test student, they might be the teacher, but all of us have some type of counter on when was the last time someone was working in the course. So if you see, for example, a change in the course and you didn't do it, just go ahead and come into the people area and look at anyone who's on your team. You'll see the last person that actually entered the course, and you can, of course, see total activity as well. Another area for curriculum designers is file management of a course that you're building. I'm going to show you a couple things that you may or may not have known about the Canvas file area. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of switch it over here and go into files. And by the way, files would be one item that I would hide from students. I wouldn't let students have the file tab within Canvas because I don't want them accessing folders, examination folders, things like that. We'll talk more about how we hide tabs here in a second, but when I go into files, I would consider this the backbone of a Canvas course. Every single time you have ever uploaded anything, even if it was a mistake, say you wanted to build an assignment, you uploaded, an assignment instruction template. Well, if you deleted that assignment, that file still exists within the course. You would need to come into this space and manually delete it. But it's nice to be able to drop in, a bunch of files that you use, like syllabus templates, things like that. Put it into this space so it's always accessible. If I do need to link it to a module or the syllabus area off of the homepage, knowing that I've put it here first can save you a little bit of time as opposed to adding things individually through the rich content editor. But let me go ahead and show you a couple things about adding files within this space. Now, if you've used this space, you know that we have drag and drop functionality. We do have the ability to add folders or hit the upload option right there. But sometimes, when we've got two screens or we can see our desktop behind our Canvas course, we can just drag things in. So that right there is an image I might want to use as a button. Right? But that might be a little old when you consider that you're doing it one at a time. So sometimes we're kind of wondering about, adding folders. Can we just bring an entire folder of buildable content in and just drop it in? And you may have experienced that red error right there because you cannot bring a folder in. But here's what you can do. We take that same folder and compress it. That means usually you right click on it and you turn it into a zip folder. If you're on a MacBook, you just hit compress. So it turns it into what's called a zip file. That right there. All right. So if you have a folder that contains videos, PowerPoints, documents, something off your hard drive that you needed to get into a Canvas course to help build it out, but you're kind of relegated to just adding things one at a time. If you need an entire folder of content, compress it or zip it like this and just bring it in. It's going to ask you, would you like to expand the contents of that folder? Yes, I do. And that folder could contain, hundreds of files. And now it's just uploading into the course. That is not a data dump. That is going to be a folder. And that when you open it, it'll contain all of the subfolders that you're used to. So that's one feature that you may or may not have known about when it comes to the files area of just bringing in a compressed folder as opposed to just individual files, just, kind of bringing them in piece by piece. And once you do have these files in this space, everything in the file area is drag and drop. So if I want to go ahead and kind of organize a couple things like, hey, I see a couple things that are outside of a folder, I can just go ahead and just drag this up, maybe bring this to the course images if I need to, maybe move one folder into another. Like I've got an image folder and an image folder here. What's going on with that? Just take that, just move that into that image folder and so on. All right. So you can manage things, drag and drop. Just remember, if you need to get a large amount of files into a course from your desktop, from your hard drive, just go ahead, compress the folder or turn it into a zip folder and bring it in. So I did want you to try that out because that's something we normally do in a build. We need files. We don't necessarily want to upload them one at a time. So go ahead and try that. In the course files, go ahead and you can create a folder if you want to. But if you want to try that concept of just compressing one of the folders on your computer, that means right click on it, choose the compress or turn it into a zip file option, and then drag it in. You'll notice that you can bring in a bunch of files at one time. I'm going to give you about a minute, and if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know in the chat. All right, course files. So I promised you that we would talk about the course settings, and this is where we're at right now. Course settings in the course navigation. If you do want to make any type of adjustment to these menu items right here, as far as moving them up or down in order, or maybe hiding things, because maybe in a second grade classroom, you don't need the syllabus, so you need to hide that tab from students. Well, you would just go ahead and go into the settings of the course down here at the very bottom. And depending where you were last, there's a couple of tabs across the top. It normally drops you right here into the course details. And if you're kind of wondering, how do I change the image on the dashboard? That's it right there. If you want to go ahead and change it to any other image, you want to go ahead and just choose an image in this space, drag in an image that you like. Now that usually it's a little bit of trial by error. When you sometimes drag in a course card, it kind of cuts off the top and the bottom. What's the perfect size? I'd say probably about I think about 250 by 150 pixels. But again, maybe a better rule of thumb, a rectangle. A rectangle works great as a course card showing on the dashboard. If you don't have an image, you can go to Unsplash. This is a catalog of free use images. It's a service we provide all Canvas courses. Yeah, type in any word here, like the word classroom. And you can go ahead and choose one of these images. I mean, it isn't just these. You can just go ahead and hit next page. And if you're picky, you're going to be in here for a bit, but you can go ahead and choose any of these images for this particular space. Let me just go ahead and just switch it to this one. And there we go. Yeah, you can go ahead and use those images or an image of your own. One thing to note about this, students do not control the dashboard image. Only you or teachers control that. So if you want to go ahead and put something in there that represents the course, like a standardized, like, biology curriculum, all of our biology courses will have this image with our logoing. Or if you just want to go ahead and give teachers free range as far as what image they add for their courses, this is the space to change it. Now, when it comes to the navigation items, well, that's that tab right there, navigation. Well, this is going to be a big list. This list right here is everything that you can enable for the course or things that you want students to see. At the bottom is a list of items that you don't want students to see. If there are two recommendations that I have right here, I never let students see the files or the pages area. The files, again, folder. I don't want them to see folders of the course that say examination answers, but I also wouldn't give them the page index as well. That's just going to be an alphabetical list of all the content pages in the course. That means if I have a page built for inclement weather, late policy, my teacher bio, it's all in a single area and just wouldn't make sense to students. If I'm going to give them a page, I'm going to probably link it in the modules. I'll probably link it off the home page and so on. If you do want to modify this list, modification comes in two forms. One, order. I can go ahead and say, you know what, I want my grades to come about right here in that view. I want studio to be above, say, discussions. So you can reorder things. You can also hide things as well. So if you want to go ahead and take assignments, and drag it down to this list. That will now disable the assignments tab. Students can still have assignments, just now they can't access them all through that tab. They're going to access it through the modules. If I teach high school, or I'm building a high school course, I can take the syllabus item that's down here and bring it up. Like, for example, bring it all the way up here to the top so students will be able to see it. So those are just the things you can do. You cannot modify the names of these pieces. That's one thing to note. You can only change the order or hide things. One final note about this page, there's a save button. Yeah, the save button right over here. If you make a bunch of changes, rearrange things, bring things up or down, and you miss that save button, you've basically lost all your work right there, at least organizing the space. So, and also I would consider that the most missed save button all of Canvas, because when we're here, we're just kind of just dragging and dropping. So just hit save when you're done, and that will update this particular page. Look right here, my syllabus is now up there at the top. That's exactly what I wanted. All right. Well, other than that, that is how you would go ahead and make the adjustments. Let's go ahead and take one more activity here before we jump into some building. Go ahead and navigate into the navigation settings of a course that you're working on and just kind of determine the areas that you need students to see. Remember, my two recommendations do not let students have the file or the pages tab. Those are usually turned off already. But if you see it on in a course that you're building, I'd probably bring it down.
If you want to go ahead and add a course card there, it's fine using Unsplash or something that you've added. Just remember a rectangle works great. I'm going to give you about a minute. If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know in the chat. All right, how are we doing? All right, well, anyways, that is basically a walkthrough from beginning to, I say, at this point, uh, of getting to know Canvas a little bit. For those of you who are brand new to Canvas, it's nice to know where to start, where to familiarize yourself as a curriculum designer, global navigation items that you want to be aware about, and also the the structure and layering of a course. You'll learn more about course structure in our next session when we start building gradable content. But for today, we want to go ahead and lay a really good foundation on the tools that we use to build.